I've had this condition ever since I was born. If I use my muscles and stuff too much, I start to cramp up. I was diagnosed in first grade because I had some learning disabilities. I couldn't concentrate. You know, you're just always in a dream state almost, what they call the brain fog. And they found that I had a low calcium. My whole reason for being in this study is so that children that have this condition don't have to go through what I went through when I was a child.
My name's Craig Wacker. I've been coming to NIH since 2007. I'm now in the ADH1 study.
ADH1 stands for Autosomal Dominant Hypocalcemia Type 1, and it's a rare genetic condition where blood calcium levels are low.
ADH1 is caused by variants or mutations in a gene called the calcium sensing receptor. The calcium sensing receptor is kind of like the thermostat for your house. So it measures the blood calcium levels, and in response to the blood calcium levels, it controls the secretion of parathyroid hormone by the parathyroid gland.
The parathyroid glands, which are 4 small glands in the neck, works through several different ways to increase the blood calcium back till normal. But in patients with ADH1, it tricks the cells into thinking that the blood calcium level is higher than it actually is. And so their blood calcium levels stay low.
It does affect you a lot because the calcium is used by everything. It's used by your brain, it's used by your heart, it's used by all your muscles. It takes all your chemicals out of whack.
One of the most common symptoms that patients with low blood calcium will have is tingling in your hands or around your mouth. And if this becomes more severe, they can get cramping. Sometimes this can be quite painful.
Some of them have really suffered tremendously with multiple episodes of seizures, hospitalizations, and if it's bad enough, it can lead to death.
I just want to feel like other people, just a better quality of life, I guess.
One thing that's important to understand is that when we treated patients with conventional therapy, with calcium and activated vitamin D, they really still had to keep their blood calciums on the lower side because when you take these, the urine calcium levels go even higher. And when you have high levels of calcium in your urine, this can lead to kidney damage and decreased kidney function.
Doctors have tried just about everything. It took 15 grams of calcium a day to get my calcium to the level that was manageable. And they didn't think about the damage that was going to do. When I went into, I think it was 10th grade, they did an x-ray and found that I had nephrocalcinosis, which is a calcified kidney.
So of course, this conventional therapy is really just putting a Band-Aid on the problem. It's not correcting the underlying abnormal physiology that's happening. So we chose to use an investigational drug called Encaleret. Encaleret binds to a spot in this calcium sensing receptor and resets it so that now it can sense calcium levels appropriately. So we enrolled these 13 adults from all over the country where we're primarily looking at, is this drug safe? And then the other question was, is it going to work?
And the answer to that occurred immediately and dramatically.
As soon as with the first dose, all of a sudden, it was like their parathyroid glands woke up and they said, oh no, the blood calcium level is low. We need to make parathyroid hormone. And the parathyroid hormone levels immediately went up.
When I found out the drug worked, it worked the way it did, I called my mom up and I told her that I found a miracle. She saw all the times when, I was in tears from the cramping. She broke down in tears.
In virtually all of the patients, we were able to normalize their blood calcium and their urine calcium as well. Results like this come to you once, twice, maybe thrice in a career. So this was a really great finding for us.
This is my military service. I wasn't allowed to go into the military, just because of my condition. This is my way to give back, to society.
People who participate in clinical trials are very special people, and they're participating in something that's hopefully going to lead to an FDA-approved drug that we can write prescriptions for at some point.
if I can have a legacy that, you know, one day when I'm 80 years old, someone comes up and they're in their 20s and go, you know, I got on a medication that you were in a study for, that you started, you know, helped out the study, and it changed my life. You know, that would be the coolest thing in the world.